Hi, and welcome to Hoffman's Hot Seat. I'm Tom Hoffman with One-to-One Media. Joining me today is Janet Eden-Harris, Chief Marketing Officer and Senior Vice President of Strategy at Force. Today we'll be discussing how to use customer intelligence to help boost sales and power out of the recession. Janet, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Tom.
So, Janet, how are some decision makers leveraging customer intelligence to help boost sales in such a difficult economic climate?
I think to answer that question, we probably should spend just a minute to talk about what we mean by customer intelligence. It's a term that's actually coming into use really only in the last year or so. Forrester, for example, describes it as this entire set of research and data around how do you understand what your customers are thinking and how do you, in fact, market to them effectively. But, of course, as you then drill down a little bit further into if I'm a company that, for example, markets B2B versus B2C, the information that I might gather as my customer intelligence could be different. But let's address for a moment at the high level, how are people using it to boost sales? What we have discovered, of course, in the last several months of the Great Recession is that consumers really drive all. And to the extent that we can understand what, A, consumers, if I'm a B2C company, and B, even my clients actually need, what they want, what they are thinking about me, what they're thinking about my competition, that allows me to be much more effective at bringing my product to market. So again, at the highest level, it's something that every marketer knows, but those that are becoming increasingly effective at reaching and understanding those consumers and customers are certainly powering out of the recession sooner. And the final point to that is that's all well and good. That sounds like, again, what we all know. But one of the struggles we have as marketers is that typically that information, we're gathering it in multiple different ways and silos. And so to really take an effective mode, again, what Forrester points to is you really ought to ideally have it consolidated into a single platform or what they call a single view of the customer. So you can, in fact, make those decisions more effectively and put yourself to market.
So how can companies apply customer intelligence to help improve customer loyalty and ultimately improve customer lifetime value?
I think that goes back to some data that, again, as marketers, we instinctively know, but has now been validated by research. Professor Larry Selden at Columbia University did this fascinating study about 2 years ago. And what he found was across any kind of company type, again, B2B, B2C, was that the top 20% of your customers typically drove about 150% of your profit. And, of course, you scratch your head and say, well, how can that be 150% of your profit? Because the bottom 20% is actually typically costing companies money. And so if you ask the question, how can I apply customer intelligence to improve customer loyalty and lifetime value, it is, again, understanding pretty intimately how your customer base stratifies and what can you do to either, A, get more business from those loyal customers and understand what they want, and probably more importantly, understand what those lower strata of customers need. How can you either, A, elevate them to buy more from you in a more profitable way, or in some cases actually potentially not do business with them. It has an enormous impact on your bottom line. And again, if you focus on those that tend to be in the higher, more profitable areas, that's where you're going to start to increase loyalty.
So what role can predictive analytics play in these types of strategies?
I think for us marketers, predictive analytics are always the holy grail. We tend to be inundated with data, and what we're ultimately wanting is, can you just give me those nuggets that let me have some predictability around my sales or whether it's my lead gen activities, et cetera, but that predictability is really critical. And again, while there's no one answer to it, this concept of customer intelligence, where I get this more singular view of the customer, is clearly going to be key to that, because when I can pull in more data points and build up my model about, again, what my customers want, what they're buying, I can have a much better opportunity to have some predictive capabilities in the ability for me to say, this customer segment's likely to buy more, this customer is likely to buy less, etc. So again, that singular view and getting multiple data points in.
To learn more about relationship strategy, visit www.onetoOnemedia.com.